The hot coffee hit my face like fire. For a second, I could not breathe. I could not see well. My skin felt like it was melting. I heard my wife's voice, sharp and loud, cutting through the burning pain. "Give me the credit card, Daniel," she shouted. "Give it to me now, or get out." I stood there in our kitchen with my hands shaking, the smell of coffee and anger filling the air. My cheek and neck burned. My eyes watered. My heart beat hard like a drum in my chest. Her son, Mark, stood behind her. He was 22, tall, and always looking at me like I was nothing. His mouth was tight, like he was holding back a smile. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask, "Why are you doing this to me?" But my voice did not come out. Before we continue, please comment where you are watching from and subscribe so you can hear more stories like this. I did what I always did. I stayed quiet. I wiped my face with my sleeve. I took a slow breath. Then I looked at my wife, Sandra, and I said the calmest words I could. "No." Her eyes went wide, like my refusal insulted her in the deepest way. Mark stepped forward. "Come on, man," he said. "It is just a card. My mom needs it." I looked at him. "Your mom does not need my card," I said. "You want it. And I know why." Sandra slammed her hand on the counter. "Do not talk to my son like that." I did not shout back. I did not call her names. I did not throw anything. I just stood there, quiet and steady. Sandra leaned close to me. "You are not his father," she hissed. "You do not tell him what to do." Those words hurt more than the coffee. We had been married for 8 years. I worked hard. I paid the rent, the bills, the groceries. I did not complain. I thought I was building a home. But sometimes, it felt like I was only building a wallet for them to open. Sandra pointed at the door. "Get out," she said. "If you will not help this family, you do not belong here." Mark crossed his arms and nodded, like he agreed. I went to our bedroom. I packed a small bag. Shirts, socks, my phone charger, my wallet. My skin still burned, but inside I felt something else. A cold calm. Sandra followed me down the hallway. "Do not come back unless you are ready to be a real husband," she said. I paused at the front door and looked back at her. My voice was quiet. "I was a real husband," I said. "I just stopped being a fool." I left. I closed the door behind me. I sat in my car for a long time with my hands on the steering wheel. The night was dark and still. My face stung. My mind raced. I could not go to my brother's. He lived far away. I could not go to a hotel. That would look like running. So I went to my small office. I owned a little accounting business. It was not big, but it was mine. I slept on the couch there, in my own quiet space, with the lights off and my thoughts too loud. In the morning, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Sandra. "Mark needs the card today. Do not be stubborn. Come home and apologize." I stared at the message. My hands were steady now. I did not answer. Instead, I opened my laptop. I checked our joint account. The money was lower than it should have been. I checked the credit card history. There were charges I did not recognize. Electronics, clothing, online transfers. My stomach turned. Then I saw something that made my blood go cold. A payment marked, "Legal consultation." It was not in my name. It was in Sandra's. I leaned back in my chair and whispered, "What are you planning?" My phone buzzed again. Another message. "This is your last chance. If you do not come back, you will regret it." I did not reply. I opened the business records. I opened our home documents. I opened everything. And that is when I found it. A scanned file. A form that looked like a property transfer. My name was on it, typed neatly. But the signature was not mine. Someone had signed my name. My hands went numb. They were not just trying to take my card. They were trying to take my life. I stood up so fast the chair rolled back. I knew what I had to do, and I knew I had to do it quietly, like always, but this time with a plan. Because if Sandra and Mark were willing to forge my signature, then they were willing to do worse. And I was starting to understand something that scared me. They did not want my money for a shopping trip. They wanted it for something bigger. Something dangerous. And they wanted me out of the way. That night, I made one phone call to someone I trusted. A lawyer named Mr. Reed, an older man who had helped me once with a business contract. He answered in a tired voice. "Daniel, it is late. I need help," I said. "And I need it fast." His voice changed. What happened? I told him about the forged document. I told him about the strange charges. I told him about the coffee. There was a long silence. Then he said, "Do not go home tomorrow." I swallowed. Why? Because, he said, this looks like a setup. And if they think you are in the way, they may try to remove you. My skin felt cold. Remove me how? Mr. Reed's voice was firm. Listen to me. Tomorrow morning, I will meet you. We will bring in someone else. And we will protect you. But you must do exactly what I say. I nodded even though he could not see me. Okay. I hung up. I sat in the dark office and listened to the quiet hum of the air conditioner. I realized the truth. My silence had kept peace for years. But it had also made them bold. And now, my silence had to become something else. Not weakness. A weapon. Because tomorrow, Sandra was going to come home expecting to find me begging. Instead, she was going to find something she never imagined. An empty house. And a stranger in a suit waiting inside. And she was going to learn the hardest lesson of her life. But before that could happen, I had to survive the next 24 hours. Because when people plan to steal everything from you, they do not stop easily. And I could feel it. The storm was coming. The next morning, I met Mr. Reed at a small cafe near the courthouse. He wore a dark suit and carried a thin briefcase. He looked calm, like he had seen every kind of mess life could make. He listened while I showed him the forged document on my phone. He asked careful questions. Where did you find this? He asked. On our shared cloud storage, I said. Sandra must have saved it there without thinking. He nodded. And you are sure this signature is not yours? I am sure, I said. I have signed my name 1,000 times. This is not it. Mr. Reed leaned forward. Daniel, do you know what this means? It means they are trying to steal the house, I said. He lifted one finger. More than that, it means they are willing to commit fraud. And if they are willing to commit fraud, they may be willing to frame you, too. My throat tightened. Frame me for what? Mr. Reed's eyes were serious. Debt, crime, anything. People who panic do reckless things. I thought about Sandra's face when I said no. I thought about Mark's calm smile behind her. My stomach twisted. Mr. Reed opened his briefcase and slid a paper toward me. This is what we do next, he said. The plan was simple, but it required discipline. First, Mr. Reed would file an emergency notice to block any transfer of the property without my direct approval. Second, we would report the forged signature. Third, we would gather proof. Not guesses. Proof. He looked at me. Do you have any voice messages? Any texts? Any threats? I opened my phone and showed him Sandra's messages. This is your last chance. If you do not come back, you will regret it. Mr. Reed nodded slowly. Good, he said. Keep everything. Then he said something I did not expect. You need a witness, he told me. A witness. I repeated. Yes, he said. Someone who can confirm your condition. That you were harmed. That you were pushed out. And that you did not abandon the home for no reason. My mind went to one person. Mrs. Patel, our neighbor. She was an older woman who always greeted me kindly. She had once asked, gently, if Sandra was treating me well. I had lied and said yes. Mr. Reed stood up. Go see her today, he said. But do it carefully. Do not start a fight. Do not threaten anyone. Stay calm. Calm was easy for me. I had practiced it my whole life. I went to Mrs. Patel's house around noon. When she opened the door, her eyes widened. Daniel, she said. Your face. What happened? I swallowed. I had an accident, I began, then stopped. The lie tasted bitter. I looked at her and finally told the truth. My wife threw hot coffee at me, I said. Because I would not give her my credit card. Mrs. Patel's hand flew to her mouth. Oh my goodness. I nodded. I need your help, I said. I need you to tell the truth if anyone asks. I did not leave because I wanted to. I left because I was forced out. Mrs. Patel's eyes filled with tears. I knew something was wrong, she whispered. I heard shouting many nights. I felt shame rise in my chest. I should have spoken earlier, I said. She reached out and touched my arm gently. You are speaking now, she said. That matters. She agreed to help. As I walked back to my car, my phone rang. It was Sandra. I stared at her name on the screen. I almost did not answer. But I needed to know what she was planning. I answered. Hello. Her voice was sweet, too sweet. Daniel, sweetheart, she said. Let us not fight. Come home. We can talk. I said nothing. She sighed like she was tired of me. Mark has a deadline, she said. If you do not help, he will lose his chance. Do you want that? What chance? I asked. A business chance, she said quickly. A deal. An investment. I knew she was lying, but I kept my voice flat. If it is a real business, the bank can handle it, I said. Her sweetness vanished. Do not be smart, she snapped. Just come home. No, I said. There was a pause. Then her voice dropped low. Fine, she said. If you will not come home, I will make sure you never come back. My heart thudded. What does that mean? You will see, she said, and she hung up. I stood there, phone in hand, breathing hard. I drove back to my office and told Mr. Reed what she said. He did not look surprised. He nodded once. Now we move to the next step, he said. What is the next step? I asked. He opened his briefcase again and took out another card. This, he said, is a private security consultant. A retired investigator. He is legal. He documents. He observes. He testifies. I stared at the card. The name was simple. Victor Hale. Mr. Reed said, tomorrow, Victor will be inside your house. My mouth went dry. Inside my house. Yes, he said. With your permission, because it is your property. He will be there when Sandra arrives. He will observe her reaction. He will record if she admits anything. And most importantly, he will ensure you are not harmed. My thoughts spun. Sandra will explode, I said. Mr. Reed's voice stayed calm. Let her, he said. When people think they have already won, they talk too much. That night, I did not sleep. I sat on the office couch staring at the ceiling, thinking about every moment I stayed quiet, every moment I let small disrespect grow into something bigger. In the early morning, I drove to a small clinic and had my burns documented. The nurse looked angry for me. She took photos. She wrote notes. She told me, you did the right thing coming here. Then I went to a bank and opened a new account in my own name. I changed my passwords. I locked down my credit. By midday, Mr. Reed called me. Victor is ready, he said. We do this tonight. What do? I asked. You do not go home, Mr. Reed said. You stay away. Let Sandra believe she has control. Let her walk into the truth. I stared at my phone after he hung up. My hands were shaking again, not from fear, but from something else. Determination. In the afternoon, Sandra sent another message. I am going to file papers. You are going to look very bad. I did not answer. At dusk, Victor Hale met me in a parking lot. He was tall, calm, and dressed in a clean gray suit. He looked like the kind of man who never wasted words. He shook my hand. Mr. Carter, he said. I understand you want this handled quietly. Yes, I said. He nodded. Quiet is fine, he said. But clear is better. He explained the plan. He would enter the house with a key Mr. Reed had arranged for, because it was legally mine. He would sit in the living room with a folder and a phone. He would look like an official visitor. He would not provoke. He would simply be present. If she becomes violent, he said, I will leave and call authorities. If she speaks, I record. If she confesses, we have evidence. I swallowed. What if she calls the police and says you broke in? Victor's mouth barely moved. Then I show them the legal letter Mr. Reed prepared, he said. And I show them my identification. Everything sounded controlled, but my heart still felt tight. Because the real question was not whether Victor could handle Sandra. It was whether Sandra and Mark had something planned that even I did not know about yet. Because the forged document was one thing. But Sandra's threat on the phone sounded like she had a bigger weapon. And I was afraid of what she meant when she said she would make sure I never came back. That evening, Victor went inside my house. I stayed in my office, staring at the clock, waiting. At 7:18 p.m., my phone buzzed. A message from Victor. She is at the door. My breath stopped. Then another message. She is not alone. I stared at the screen, my mouth dry. Not alone. I whispered, Mark. Then the phone buzzed again. 2 men with them. They look like movers. My blood ran cold. Movers. They were not coming to talk. They were coming to take everything. I felt like my heart was falling down a deep hole. Movers. 2 men. Sandra. Mark. This was not a simple argument anymore. This was a robbery wearing the mask of family. I called Mr. Reed with shaking hands. He answered fast. What is it? They came with movers, I said. Victor says they are at the door. Mr. Reed's voice became sharp. Good, he said. Let Victor handle the contact. Do not go there. Do you understand? Do not go there. But they are taking my things, I said. Things can be replaced, he said. Your safety cannot. I clenched my jaw. Okay. I hung up and sat down hard on my office chair. My hands were cold. My face still felt tender where the coffee had burned me. Then Victor called me directly. I answered. Victor. His voice was low. She is inside, he said. She saw me. She froze for a moment. Now she is acting angry. What is she saying? I asked. She asked who I am, Victor said. I told her I am here on behalf of the homeowner. She will say you are lying, I whispered. Victor made a small sound, almost like a calm breath. She is trying, he said. She is saying you abandoned the home and that she has rights. And the movers? I asked. They are standing behind her, he said. Mark is talking to them, like he is giving orders. My stomach turned. Then Victor said, she is speaking now. I am recording. I held my breath. I could almost hear Sandra's voice through the phone, even though I was not there. Victor continued, she is saying you hit her. She is saying you were unstable. She is saying you ran away because you are guilty. My whole body tensed. This was it. This was what Mr. Reed warned me about. A frame. Sandra was building a story, and if I walked into that house, she would use it against me. I whispered, Victor, be careful. I am careful, he said. There was a pause, then he said, Mark just said something important. My throat tightened. What did he say? Victor's voice stayed steady. He told the movers to start taking items. He said, Dad said we can, because the place is going to be in Mom's name soon anyway. My stomach dropped. Dad. Mark called me dad when he wanted money, and called me nothing when he wanted power. And now he was using that word like a weapon. Victor said, Sandra is shouting now. She is telling me to get out. She is saying she will call the police. Let her, I said quietly. Victor paused. Daniel, he said, she just made a mistake. What mistake? I asked. She said, you cannot stop the transfer. It is already filed. Tomorrow the house is mine. I felt a cold wave run through me. Tomorrow. So that was the deadline. That was why they wanted the credit card, why they were pushing so hard. They were rushing something. Victor said. I asked her what transfer she meant. She said, you know. The papers. Daniel signed. I swallowed hard. But I did not sign. I know, Victor said. She is angry, so she is not thinking. She is talking. I leaned forward. Victor, keep her talking. I will, he said. Then I heard muffled shouting through the phone. Victor's voice dropped even lower. Mark is telling her to calm down, he said. He is also telling her, do not say too much. I clenched my fist. It was real. They had a plan, and Mark knew exactly what they were doing. Victor said, one of the movers just asked for confirmation. He said he needs paperwork before he touches anything. Good. At least someone had sense. Victor said, Sandra told him, do not worry, we have documents. My lawyer is handling it. My mind raced. Sandra had paid for a legal consultation. She had a lawyer. Maybe a dishonest one, or maybe a lawyer who believed her lies. Victor said, she is pulling out a folder. My breath caught. What is in it? I cannot see yet, Victor said. But she is waving it like a trophy. Then Victor's voice changed slightly. She is coming closer to me. I whispered, Victor. She is asking me to identify myself, he said. I am showing my ID. I am showing Mr. Reed's letter. There was a moment of silence. Then Victor said, she is pale now. Why? I asked. Because the letter states the property is under legal protection, he said. It also states there is evidence of fraud. I felt a strange mix of relief and fear. Relief because the net was tightening. Fear because trapped people do desperate things. Victor said, Mark is whispering to her. He is telling her to go with Plan B. Plan B. My chest tightened. What is Plan B? I asked. Victor's voice was firm. I do not know yet, he said. But I am watching closely. The phone went quiet for a second, then I heard a loud slam through Victor's mic. Victor spoke again. Daniel, she just threw something. She is screaming that you will pay for humiliating her. My skin prickled. Then Victor said, Mark just stepped toward me. He is trying to intimidate. Victor, do not engage, I said. I am not, he replied. I am staying seated, calm, recording. Then Victor said the words that made my whole body freeze. Daniel, he said, Mark just said you are not coming back because you will be arrested tonight. My mouth went dry. Arrested for what? Victor inhaled quietly. He said, we already reported him. The police are on their way. He assaulted Mom and stole money. I felt like the air left my lungs. That was the threat Sandra meant. She was not just taking my things. She was trying to destroy my name. My mind flashed with images. Handcuffs. A police station. Headlines. Shame. I grabbed my phone and called Mr. Reed again. He answered. Daniel. They filed a report, I said fast. They are saying I assaulted her and stole money. They are expecting police tonight. Mr. Reed's voice stayed steady. Good, he said. Do not panic. This is why we prepared. How can you say good? I snapped. Because false reports are also evidence, he said. And because we have your clinic documentation. We have the forged document. We have Victor's recordings. Let them call the police. Let them walk into their own trap. I swallowed, trying to breathe. Mr. Reed continued, Daniel, you must do one thing right now. What? I asked. Come to my office, he said. Now. We will preempt them. We will file our own report first. I stood up so fast my chair squealed. As I grabbed my keys, my phone buzzed again. A text from Victor. Police lights outside. My hands went numb. The police had arrived, and Sandra was about to tell them her story. If they believed her, my life could collapse in one night. I whispered to myself, please. Let the truth speak louder than her lies. Then Victor sent one more message. She just smiled. Like she thinks she won. I drove to Mr. Reed's office like my life depended on it. Because it did. Mr. Reed met me at the door. He looked calm, but his eyes were sharp. Sit, he said. I sat. My knee bounced without me wanting it to. Mr. Reed opened a folder and started moving fast, like a man who had done this before. We are filing a report of assault and fraud, he said. Now, before their story becomes the first story. He called a contact at the police station. He explained the situation clearly. He mentioned the documented burns. He mentioned the forged property transfer. He mentioned an investigator inside the home recording everything. Then he looked at me. Daniel, he said, do you have any past proof of their money pressure? Old messages. I opened my phone and searched. I found old texts from Sandra. Mark needs help. Do not embarrass me. If you love me, you will do this. Mark's messages too. Send it now. You owe us. Do not be selfish. Mr. Reed nodded. Good, he said. This shows a pattern. Then my phone rang again. Victor. I answered. Victor, what is happening? Victor's voice was steady, but I could hear movement in the background. 2 officers are inside, he said. Sandra is crying. She is acting like a victim. I clenched my jaw. Of course. Victor continued. She claims you assaulted her yesterday, that you threatened Mark, and that you stole money from the joint account. My stomach turned, but I forced myself to breathe slowly. Victor said, one officer asked where you are. Sandra said she does not know. She is saying you ran away because you are guilty. Mr. Reed gestured for the phone. I put it on speaker. Mr. Reed spoke calmly into the phone. Victor, have you shown the officers the letter and identification? Yes, Victor said. I have also stated I am recording for documentation. Mr. Reed said, did they object to recording? No, Victor replied. They are cautious, but they have not stopped it. Mr. Reed nodded. Good. Next step. Offer them the evidence of fraud and the medical documentation exists. Tell them the homeowner is filing a report right now. Victor said, understood. Then Victor paused. Mr. Reed, he said, Sandra just said something else. Mr. Reed's voice stayed calm. What did she say? Victor answered, she said Daniel is not the homeowner anymore because he signed the transfer. She claims it is done. Mr. Reed's eyes narrowed. Ask her to show the document. Victor said, I already did. She is holding it. I held my breath. Victor continued, she handed it to the officer. The officer is looking at it now. Mr. Reed spoke in a controlled voice. Victor, ask the officer to examine the signature closely. Ask if they can confirm it matches Daniel's identification signature. Also ask for the name of the lawyer who filed it. Victor said, I will. I could hear muffled voices through the phone. Then Victor spoke again. The officer just asked Sandra why the document is not notarized properly. She is stammering. My heart lifted slightly. Notarized. Sandra might not even understand what real legal work required. She might have rushed and used someone shady. Victor said, Mark is interrupting. He is getting angry. I whispered, he is going to explode. Victor said, Mark just pointed at me and said I am trespassing. Mr. Reed's voice turned firm. Victor, repeat this, the property is legally Daniel's, and you are present with his permission. Also repeat, there is an active fraud report being filed. Victor repeated it. Then there was a long pause, filled with voices. One of the officers said something I could not fully hear, but it sounded like a warning. Victor then said, Daniel, Sandra is switching tactics. What now? I asked. She is saying you planned this, Victor said. She is saying you are trying to ruin her reputation. Mr. Reed leaned closer to the phone. Victor, ask her one direct question, he said. Ask, why did she need Daniel's credit card yesterday if the transfer was already done? Victor paused. Understood. I held my breath. I heard Victor ask the question. The room went quiet. Then Sandra's voice burst through, sharp and loud, no longer sweet, no longer crying. Because Mark needed the money to pay the man who helped us. She screamed. My blood turned to ice. She said it. She said it out loud. Mr. Reed's face stayed still, but his eyes flashed. Victor said calmly, pay the man who helped you with what, ma'am? Sandra shouted, with the papers, okay. With the transfer. He said it would work if we did it fast. There was silence, then a different voice, one of the officers, firm and controlled. Ma'am, the officer said, are you saying you paid someone to help you transfer property using a signature that may not belong to your husband? Sandra tried to backtrack, her voice rising and falling, words messy, panicked. Mark shouted something too, angry, trying to pull her back, trying to stop her. But it was too late. Victor spoke softly into the phone. Recorded, he said. Mr. Reed exhaled once, like a man watching a door finally open. He looked at me. Daniel, he said, they just confessed to intent. My hands trembled. I felt both sick and relieved. Then Victor said, the officers are now asking for the name of the man who helped. Sandra is refusing. Mark is shouting that they cannot prove anything. Mr. Reed said, they can, and he opened another folder. He pointed to a line on a bank statement I had printed earlier. A payment number. A business name. Mr. Reed tapped it. This is the legal consultation charge, he said. We trace it. I swallowed. So what happens now? Mr. Reed's voice was calm. Now we stop the transfer, he said. Now we protect your assets. And now we expose everyone involved. My phone buzzed again. A new text from Victor. Mark just tried to grab my phone. My heart slammed. Victor's next message came fast. Officer restrained him. Mark is now yelling your name like a threat. Then the final message that made my stomach drop. Sandra just screamed. If Daniel does not come back, tell them what we have on him. I stared at the words. What we have on him. Mr. Reed looked at me sharply. Daniel, he said, what could they possibly claim they have on you? I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. Because I suddenly remembered something. Something Sandra had pushed me to sign years ago. Something I never fully understood. Something that could be twisted into a weapon. And if Sandra revealed it, it could destroy me in a different way. Not with handcuffs. With shame. With lies that sounded believable. Mr. Reed leaned forward. Daniel, he said, tell me now. What did you sign? And at that exact moment, Victor's call dropped. The line went dead. The silence after the call dropped was heavy. Mr. Reed stared at me, waiting. I took a slow breath and forced myself to speak. 3 years ago, I said, Sandra brought me papers. She said they were for taxes. She said it was just to help the family and make things simpler. Mr. Reed's eyes narrowed. What kind of papers? I did not read them well, I admitted. She rushed me. She said I was acting like I did not trust her. I felt guilty, so I signed. Mr. Reed's voice was firm. Daniel, what did you sign? I swallowed. A power of attorney, I said quietly. Limited, she said. But I never confirmed. Mr. Reed closed his eyes for a second, like he was controlling anger. That, he said, is what she thinks she has on you. She thinks she can claim you gave her legal authority. My stomach turned. Did I ruin myself? Mr. Reed shook his head. Not necessarily, he said. Power of attorney can be limited. It can be revoked. And even if it exists, it does not allow fraud. It does not allow forgery. It does not allow assault. I felt a small piece of air return to my lungs. Mr. Reed stood up. We revoke it today, he said. Immediately. He moved fast. He drafted the revocation. He prepared copies. He sent notices. Then he called Victor back. Victor answered, breathing slightly harder than before. I am fine, he said quickly. Officer handled Mark. What is the situation? Mr. Reed asked. Victor said, Sandra is rattled. Mark is furious. Officers separated them. Sandra keeps saying she has documents that prove authority. Mr. Reed said, tell the officers a revocation is being filed right now. Also tell them, even if a power of attorney exists, it does not authorize fraudulent property transfer. Victor said, understood. Then Victor added, Daniel, you need to hear this. Sandra named the man. My heart pounded. Who? Victor said, a notary and document runner named Louis Kane. She said she paid him to make the transfer go through. The officers wrote it down. Mr. Reed's jaw tightened. Good, he said. Now the fraud has a name. Within hours, the police opened a formal report. Mr. Reed filed an emergency injunction. The transfer was blocked before it could finalize. Sandra and Mark did not get the house. They did not get the card. And they did not get to rewrite the truth. The next day, Mr. Reed and I went to the house with Victor present. The officers were there too. Sandra stood in the living room looking small, like her anger finally had nowhere to hide. Mark glared at me with hate. You set us up, he hissed. I looked at him calmly. No, I said. You set yourselves up when you chose lies. Sandra's eyes were red. After everything I did for you, she whispered. I felt the old habit in my body, the habit to stay quiet, to keep the peace, to swallow pain. But something had changed. I spoke clearly. You threw hot coffee on me, I said. You forced me out. You forged my name. You tried to steal my home. And you tried to ruin my name when you got caught. Sandra flinched like my words were slaps. Mark stepped forward. You are not perfect, he snapped. You have secrets too. Mr. Reed spoke before I could. If you are referring to a power of attorney, he said, it has been revoked. And it does not cover criminal acts. If you continue to threaten, we can add intimidation. Mark shut his mouth, but his eyes stayed hard. The officers asked Sandra and Mark to provide their statements formally. Sandra tried to cry again. She tried to act weak. But the evidence was too strong. The clinic report documented my burns. The text showed threats and pressure. Victor's recording captured Sandra admitting she paid someone to help with the transfer. The forged signature was clear, and handwriting experts later confirmed it was not mine. Louis Kane, the document runner, was investigated and arrested for multiple fraud cases. Sandra was not arrested that day, but she was charged later after the investigation showed she knowingly participated. Mark was charged too, because he helped plan and pressured the movers and attempted to interfere with evidence by trying to take Victor's phone. The house stayed mine, but the home, as I knew it, was already gone. A week later, Sandra asked to meet me. We met in a public place with Mr. Reed present. Sandra looked tired. Her voice was lower than I had ever heard it. I did not think it would go this far, she said. I stared at her. It went this far the moment you burned me, I said. Tears filled her eyes. Mark needed help, she said. He made mistakes. I nodded once. Mark is an adult, I said. And you taught him the wrong lesson. You taught him that if he screams loud enough, people will give him what he wants. Sandra shook her head. I did not want to lose you, she whispered. I felt something painful in my chest, not love, not anger, but grief. You lost me when you stopped seeing me as a person, I said. When I became just a card in your purse. She looked down. Mr. Reed asked her, are you willing to sign a settlement agreement and cooperate with the investigation? Sandra hesitated, then nodded. Yes, she whispered. It was not because she suddenly became good. It was because she was trapped by truth. After that, I filed for divorce. People asked me later why I stayed quiet for so long. Why I did not leave earlier. Why I did not fight back the first time Sandra disrespected me. I told them the truth. I thought silence was peace, I said. But silence can also be permission. That was the lesson. Not that revenge is about hurting people. My revenge was not hot and loud like the coffee. My revenge was quiet, legal, and clear. It was choosing truth over fear. It was refusing to be controlled by shame. It was finally speaking. And when the dust settled, I stood in the empty house that Sandra once thought she could steal, and I felt something I had not felt in years. Freedom. Not the kind that comes from winning a fight. The kind that comes from ending a lie. I replaced the broken locks. I repainted the kitchen walls. I threw away the stained rug where the coffee splashed. I kept the scars on my skin as a reminder, not of pain, but of the day I stopped accepting it. And the strangest part was this. Sandra had once threatened, if you do not come back, you will regret it. But the only regret I had was waiting so long to protect myself. Because the truth is simple, even a child can understand it. If someone hurts you and tries to take what is yours, you do not have to scream back. You do not have to become cruel. You just have to stop being silent. You have to get help. You have to tell the truth. And you have to stand firm, even when your voice shakes. That is how you take your life back. That is what changed. That is what saved me. And that is why, when Sandra came home to an empty house and a stranger in a suit, it was not the suit that scared her most. It was the truth sitting calmly inside it. Waiting, watching, and finally, speaking louder than her lies.